In the bustling city of Arcadia, the hum of life was ever present, with people hurrying about their daily routines. Skyscrapers kissed the sky, and the streets were a maze of alleys and thoroughfares that seemed to have a rhythm of their own. Amidst the city's vibrancy lived Maya, a 17-year-old high school student known for her exceptional intelligence and unyielding curiosity. She excelled in her studies and was constantly seeking ways to outshine her peers, often finding innovative solutions to the most daunting challenges. One balmy afternoon, as the golden sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the city, Maya sat in her cluttered bedroom, surrounded by books, papers, and her laptop. The deadline for her science project loomed ominously. Her project, a detailed study of the city's water purification system, demanded extensive research and fieldwork. Maya was determined to ace it, but the sheer volume of work overwhelmed her. While rummaging through her old family trunk for inspiration, she discovered a tattered, ancient map. The parchment was yellowed with age, and the ink had faded, but the intricate lines and symbols were still discernible. The map depicted Arcadia as it had been centuries ago, a blend of familiar landmarks and forgotten pathways. Her eyes were drawn to a particular route that wound its way through the dense forest on the outskirts of the city. This path was marked with symbols that promised a shortcut, one that could potentially cut travel time in half. Her heart raced with excitement. If she could take this shortcut, she might save enough time to complete her project. The forest, known locally as the Enchanted Wood, was a place of myths and legends. Elders often spoke of its beauty and dangers in the same breath. Stories of travelers who had ventured in and never returned had become bedtime tales, intended to keep children from wandering too far. Despite the warnings, Maya's curiosity and ambition overshadowed her caution. What's the harm in exploring? She thought. I'm smart enough to navigate any challenge. She decided that the next day, she would set out to explore this shortcut. The thrill of adventure combined with the possibility of a quicker route to success was too enticing to ignore. The following morning, with her backpack filled with essentials, water, snacks, a flashlight, and her trusty notebook, Maya left her home before dawn. The city was still asleep, and the streets were eerily quiet. She reached the outskirts and found herself standing at the edge of the Enchanted Wood. The forest was dense, with towering trees whose canopies formed a thick, almost impenetrable roof of leaves. Sunlight struggled to pierce through, casting the forest floor in a dappled glow. As Maya stepped onto the path indicated on the map, a shiver ran down her spine, a mix of excitement and apprehension. She followed the winding trail, noting the markers on the map. The deeper she went, the more the forest seemed to close in around her. The sounds of the city faded, replaced by the rustling of leaves and the distant calls of unseen creatures. Hours passed, and the path grew narrower and less distinct. Maya's initial excitement gave way to frustration as the markers became harder to find. She realized that the shortcut was not as straightforward as the map had promised. The forest seemed to play tricks on her senses, with trails looping back on themselves and landmarks shifting as if by magic. Ignoring the growing sense of unease, Maya pressed on, driven by the belief that the end of the shortcut was just around the next bend. She was determined to find her way, convinced that her quick thinking and resourcefulness would see her through. As dusk began to settle over the forest, casting long, eerie shadows, Maya found herself at a crossroads. The path split into multiple trails, each one leading into the unknown. Her map was no longer helpful, its once clear lines now confusing and contradictory. Exhausted and disoriented, Maya sat down on a moss-covered rock, the weight of her decision pressing heavily on her shoulders. For the first time, she questioned the wisdom of her choice. The promise of the shortcut, so alluring in the comfort of her room, now seemed a distant, mocking echo. She had ventured into the forest seeking to save time but found herself lost, with no clear way out. As the first stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Maya made a fire, the flickering flames providing a semblance of comfort. She knew she had to find a way out, but for now, she had to rest. With a heavy heart, she realized that sometimes, shortcuts can lead to the longest and most arduous journeys of all. Little did she know, this was only the beginning of an adventure that would test her resilience, ingenuity, and spirit like never before. The forest came alive at night with a symphony of sounds. The chirping of crickets, the distant hoot of an owl, and the rustle of leaves created a haunting melody. As Maya lay beside her makeshift fire, her thoughts swirled with a mix of determination and doubt. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows on the trees, and she stared into them, searching for answers. Sleep came fitfully, with dreams of twisted paths and whispering trees. When dawn broke, Maya awoke with renewed resolve. She couldn't turn back now, not when she was so deep into the forest. She packed her things and set off again, hoping to find the elusive shortcut that had brought her here. As she walked, she tried to focus on the positive. If the shortcut was real, it would save her days of work, and the extra time could be used to perfect her project. The morning light filtered through the canopy, casting a warm, golden glow over the forest floor. Maya tried to match the markings on her map with the surroundings, but the path was still unclear. She walked for hours, her hope waning with each step. The forest seemed endless, and the trails twisted and turned in confusing patterns. Her initial excitement had turned into a gnawing anxiety. By noon, Maya stumbled upon a clearing. At its center stood an ancient, gnarled tree, its bark covered in moss and ivy. The tree seemed to exude an aura of wisdom and mystery. Exhausted and hungry, Maya decided to rest there and have her lunch. As she unpacked her bag, she noticed a faint trail leading away from the clearing, barely visible under the thick underbrush. Her heart skipped a beat. Could this be the shortcut she had been searching for? Driven by a surge of hope, she quickly finished her meal and followed the faint trail. The path was narrow and overgrown, but it seemed to align with the route on her map. With each step, her excitement grew. She imagined herself emerging from the forest, triumphant and ahead of schedule. The thought of easy success spurred her on, pushing her past her weariness. As she continued, the trail became more defined, and she felt a sense of accomplishment. However, the forest grew denser, the trees pressing in on her from all sides. The light dimmed, and an eerie silence settled over the woods. The trail began to twist and turn more sharply, and Maya found herself navigating through thick underbrush and over fallen logs. Despite the difficulties, Maya's determination didn't waver. She was convinced that the shortcut was just a little further ahead. She thought about her classmates, already presenting their projects, and how impressed they would be by her ingenuity. The allure of easy success blinded her to the signs of caution. She pressed on, her pace quickening even as the trail grew more treacherous. Hours passed, and Maya's optimism started to fade. The trail became less distinct, and the forest seemed to close in around her. She stumbled over roots and ducked under low-hanging branches, her body growing more fatigued with each step. Her water supply was running low, and she hadn't seen any sign of civilization. The thought of being lost in the forest began to creep into her mind, but she pushed it aside, clinging to the hope of finding the shortcut. As dusk approached, Maya's determination began to waver. She had been walking for hours without any clear sign of progress. The trail seemed to loop back on itself, and she found herself in unfamiliar territory. The forest, once full of promise, now felt like a labyrinth designed to trap her. Her feet ached, and her spirit was flagging. In the dim light of the setting sun, Maya stumbled upon a small stream. The sight of fresh water was a relief, and she knelt to fill her bottle. As she drank, she heard a rustling sound nearby. She froze, her heart pounding. The rustling grew louder, and she realized she was not alone. Emerging from the shadows was a figure, tall and cloaked, with an air of authority. Maya's initial fear gave way to curiosity. The figure approached, revealing himself to be an old man with a kind yet stern expression. His eyes seemed to hold the wisdom of the ages, and his presence was both comforting and intimidating. "Lost, are you?" the old man asked, his voice deep and resonant. Maya nodded, unable to find her voice. The man gestured for her to sit by the stream, and she obeyed, her curiosity piqued. He introduced himself as Alaric, a hermit who had lived in the forest for many years. Alaric explained that he had seen many travelers like her, drawn by the promise of shortcuts and easy success. "The forest has a way of testing those who seek to take the easy path," Alaric said, his eyes fixed on Maya. "Shortcuts may seem tempting, but they often lead to greater challenges. True success comes from facing difficulties head-on and learning from the journey." Maya listened intently, the weight of his words sinking in. She realized that her quest for a shortcut had blinded her to the true purpose of her journey. Alaric's wisdom resonated deeply, and she felt a sense of clarity she hadn't experienced before. As the night settled in, Alaric offered Maya shelter in his modest hut. Grateful for the respite, she followed him through the woods to a small clearing where a simple but sturdy hut stood. Inside, the air was warm and filled with the comforting scent of herbs and spices. Alaric prepared a simple meal of foraged greens and wild berries, and as they ate, he shared stories of the forest and the lessons it had taught him. Maya felt a deep sense of respect for the old man and the life he had chosen. She realized that the forest was not just a place of danger but also a place of profound wisdom. Before she fell asleep that night, Maya made a silent promise to herself. She would find her way out of the forest, but she would do so with patience and perseverance. She would avoid shortcuts and embrace the challenges ahead, knowing that they would lead to true growth and success. As she drifted off to sleep, the forest seemed to whisper its approval, the rustling leaves and gentle breeze lulling her into a deep, restful slumber. Morning light filtered through the forest canopy, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. Maya awoke feeling more rested than she had in days. The warmth of Alaric's fire and the wisdom of his words had renewed her spirit. As she stepped outside the hut, she found Alaric tending to a small garden of herbs and wildflowers. "Good morning," he greeted her with a warm smile. "I trust you slept well?" "Yes, thank you," Maya replied, her voice filled with gratitude. "I'm ready to find my way out of the forest. But this time, I'll do it right." Alaric nodded approvingly. "Patience and perseverance will guide you. The forest has its challenges, but it also offers many lessons if you're willing to learn." With Alaric's guidance, Maya set off on a new path, one that would take her through the heart of the forest rather than attempting to bypass it. The journey was slow and arduous, but she was determined to embrace every step. As they walked, Alaric shared his knowledge of the forest. He taught her to read the subtle signs of nature, the way certain plants indicated water sources, how the songs of birds could signal nearby dangers, and the tracks of animals that could guide her to safe pathways. Maya absorbed these lessons eagerly, her respect for the forest growing with each passing day. The first challenge came when they encountered a deep ravine. The shortcut map had shown a bridge that no longer existed. Alaric encouraged Maya to find a way across using the resources at hand. She collected fallen branches and vines, constructing a makeshift bridge. It was a test of her ingenuity and patience, and when she finally crossed the ravine, she felt a surge of accomplishment. Further along, they came upon a dense thicket of brambles and thorns blocking their path. Instead of searching for an easy way around, Alaric suggested they work together to clear the path. With determination and teamwork, they cut through the thicket, clearing a path that could be used by future travelers. Maya realized that by facing obstacles head-on, she not only overcame them but also left a positive impact on the path for others. Days turned into weeks as they navigated the forest. Maya's confidence grew with each challenge she conquered. She learned to forage for food, finding edible berries and roots, and to purify water from streams using natural methods. The forest, once an intimidating labyrinth, became a place of learning and growth. One evening, as they rested by a campfire, Alaric shared a story of his own journey. He had once been a scholar in Arcadia, driven by ambition and the pursuit of knowledge. But the pressure to succeed had led him to seek shortcuts, much like Maya. His failures and the wisdom he gained from them had ultimately brought him to the forest, where he found true contentment in a simpler, more meaningful life. Maya listened intently, her own journey mirrored in his story. She realized that the forest had given her more than just survival skills. It had taught her resilience, patience, and the value of hard work. She understood now that success was not just about reaching a destination quickly but about the lessons learned and the growth experienced along the way. As they continued their journey, Maya began to see the beauty of the forest in a new light. The towering trees, the vibrant flowers, the chirping birds, all were part of a vast, interconnected world. She felt a deep sense of connection to nature and a newfound respect for its rhythms and cycles. One morning, they reached the edge of the forest. The trees thinned, revealing the open fields and the distant skyline of Arcadia. Maya's heart swelled with emotion. She had found her way back, not through shortcuts, but through perseverance and learning. Alaric turned to her, his eyes twinkling with pride. "You've done well, Maya. Remember the lessons of the forest as you return to your world. Success is not just about the destination but the journey and the growth you experience along the way." Maya hugged him tightly, her gratitude overflowing. "Thank you, Alaric, for everything. I'll never forget what I've learned here." With a final wave, she stepped out of the forest, her spirit strong and her mind clear. The city awaited her, but she was ready to face its challenges with a new perspective. The forest had taught her that shortcuts might save time, but the true path to success lay in the journey, in the lessons learned, and in the growth achieved through perseverance and hard work. Maya emerged from the forest, her heart brimming with gratitude and her mind sharpened by the lessons she had learned. The familiar sight of Arcadia's skyline, with its towering skyscrapers and bustling streets, filled her with a mix of nostalgia and determination. She knew that returning to her normal life wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to face the challenges ahead. As she walked through the city streets, Maya noticed how everything seemed to move at a frenetic pace. People hurried by, engrossed in their own worlds, and the sounds of car horns and chatter filled the air. It was a stark contrast to the serene, natural environment she had grown accustomed to in the forest. Yet, she felt a newfound sense of calm and clarity within herself. Her first stop was school. She had missed several weeks of classes and knew she had a lot of catching up to do. When she walked into the classroom, her classmates greeted her with surprised looks and whispered conversations. Her teacher, Ms. Rodriguez, paused mid-lecture, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. "Maya, welcome back," Ms. Rodriguez said, her tone gentle but firm. "We've been worried about you. Where have you been?" Maya took a deep breath, ready to explain. "I got lost in the forest while working on my science project. But I've learned a lot, and I'm ready to catch up on everything I've missed." Ms. Rodriguez nodded, her expression softening. "We're glad you're safe, Maya. Let's talk after class about how we can help you get back on track." After the lecture, Maya approached Ms. Rodriguez and explained her journey in more detail. She shared how she had discovered the old map, the challenges she faced in the forest, and the invaluable lessons she had learned from Alaric. Ms. Rodriguez listened intently, her eyes reflecting a deep understanding. "Sometimes, the hardest lessons come from the most unexpected places," Ms. Rodriguez said thoughtfully. "We'll work together to make sure you catch up. But remember, the most important thing is that you're safe and you've grown from this experience." Maya spent the next few weeks diligently catching up on her schoolwork. She stayed late at the library, poring over textbooks and research materials, determined to complete her science project. Her classmates, initially skeptical, soon noticed her unwavering dedication and began to respect her even more. One afternoon, as Maya was working on her project, a group of her classmates approached her. Among them was Ethan, the class valedictorian and her main competitor. "Hey, Maya," Ethan said, his tone hesitant. "We heard about your journey in the forest. That sounds intense. How did you manage to survive out there?" Maya smiled, grateful for their interest. "It wasn't easy, but I learned a lot. The forest taught me the value of perseverance and facing challenges head-on. Alaric, a hermit I met there, showed me that shortcuts might seem tempting, but they often lead to more difficulties. The real growth happens when you tackle things directly." Ethan nodded, impressed. "That's really inspiring. Maybe you could share some of those lessons with us. I think we could all benefit from them." Maya agreed, and soon she found herself leading a study group where she shared not only academic knowledge but also the wisdom she had gained in the forest. Her classmates were eager to learn from her experiences, and the group grew stronger and more united. As the deadline for the science project approached, Maya worked tirelessly, incorporating the insights and skills she had acquired during her journey. She presented her findings on the city's water purification system with confidence and clarity, explaining how the principles of nature could be applied to improve urban systems. The presentation was a success. Ms. Rodriguez and the other teachers were impressed by Maya's thorough research and innovative ideas. Her classmates applauded, recognizing the effort and dedication she had put into her work. After the presentation, Ms. Rodriguez called Maya aside. "You've done an exceptional job, Maya. Your journey has not only enriched your project but also inspired your peers. I'm proud of you." Maya felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She had faced the consequences of her initial decision to seek a shortcut, but through perseverance and hard work, she had emerged stronger and wiser. The experience had taught her that success was not just about achieving a goal quickly but about the journey and the growth that came with it. Maya knew that she would carry these lessons with her for the rest of her life, ready to face any challenge with patience, resilience, and a commitment to doing things the right way. With the project behind her, Maya looked forward to the future with a sense of optimism and purpose. She had learned that true success came not from taking the easy way out, but from embracing the journey, no matter how difficult it might be. And with that knowledge, she felt ready to take on the world. Over time, Maya rebuilt her reputation as a dedicated student and earned the respect of her peers. She applied the lessons learned from her forest ordeal to every aspect of her life, embracing challenges with resilience and embracing the journey of learning and growth. Maya's experience became a cautionary tale in Arcadia, reminding others to avoid shortcuts and to value the richness of the journey toward true achievement.